for those people who have spent a few years studying for GCSEs, A-levels or a degree, whatever it might be, to then basically just be given a predicted grade, that must be so frustrating because they could have potentially exceeded that grade.
Yeah.
Or they could have not deserved that grade.
Yeah.
And so you've now got a load of people who are going into university who have just been given a grade based vaguely around how they were performing during their academic year.
It's episode 3.
Welcome back. Episode 3 of the Way It Goes podcast. Do you know what? I just want to take a second before we even start to talk just a little bit about the reception we've had for episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah.
It has been absolutely awesome.
Insane.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. I mean, when we started this, we said that we just wanted to impact a few people, right?
Yeah.
Like, just make someone's day a little bit better. And I think we've succeeded in that. Like, as of recording, this is now day 2 of recording, episode 3. So we've had a week or so to kind of take it in and see what's going on. And we've had over 100 views on each episode, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but it's surpassed our expectations.
It's crazy for us, because I think we were saying on the car journey for the first episode, it was like, if we can hit like 100,
100%, yeah,
that's a reach. Like that to our little small non-promotion podcast is a reach. So that's great. It's so good.
Yeah, it's also just the comments we've had from people like at work and stuff. The best bit of feedback that I've had personally, I was saying to you in the car on the way down, someone at work said to me that I come across as me on the podcast. Like,
they said the same to me.
Yeah.
They was just like, you two on the mic are just like, it's just you. It's not, you're not putting a front on. You're not putting a like a fake persona on. It is just you.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, I couldn't ask for better feedback.
No, I know.
Just purely because I'm absolutely terrified that I'm like not being genuine.
I know what you mean. Yeah, but I feel like we've had this conversation before. Like, I try and be authentic and do like I'm me, whatever the setting. And you were saying the same thing in I think episode 2 we were talking about that. So massive thank you guys for watching and supporting and giving us feedback and nice comments and so on. Like, it's early days, but it's given us the kind of motivation to continue doing it. Hence why we're back here doing this today. So just really awesome. So hello once again from myself, Dan, and my co-host Ryan. We're going to be talking today about a few things relating to kind of friendships and also the social impact of COVID, which I think is a big topic.
I've got a lot of thoughts on that. I've got a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah, me too. And we're going to be rounding off the podcast today with a little bit of a fun game of Would You Rather. So we've got a few examples to go through, which should be quite juicy. And of course,
took a large chunk of last night curating.
Yeah. We sat on Discord last night having a look through some quite interesting Reddit threads, and also, of course, round it off with a quote as we do every episode to provide that little bit of motivational boost for your Monday or whenever you may be listening. You can find us at twig.podcast across all social platforms: TikTok, Instagram, and Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on all the major platforms, and of course YouTube if you're actually watching us, which we really appreciate. Hello. We're waving to the people who are listening on Spotify. So that's
on
just
Spotify.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The people
we're
on
waving
Spotify,
to the people who are listening on Spotify is what you've said.
Yeah, no, but what I meant was that the people on Spotify won't be able to see us waving. So I wanted to explain to them that we're who cares? Anyway. We're wasting the folks' time. So today we want to talk about how friendships change as you get older. I think that's something we touched on a little bit in the earlier episodes, but I think we want to do a bit of a deep dive today and talk a little bit about how things have changed for us as we've grown up. Like, we're both kind of approaching 30 now, and we're kind of like, things change a lot since when you're like a teenager and you're going through school, college, uni, whatever you're doing. Neither of us have any experience of uni, but I'm sure that's a massive impact as well. But obviously we know quite a few people who did go to uni.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of uni parties.
I can imagine.
I still there was a just completely off topic, but there was a drinking game we played, and I still don't understand how it works.
Oh well,
Gouchable. Does anyone know how to play Gouchable? I'm just just curious.
It's like Monopoly. Who actually knows how to play Monopoly? Like, you play Monopoly for 10 years, and then you find out that you've been following the rules wrong. And then it's like, well, I'm charging it now.
And then they bring out a rule book, and the rule book says, "Oh, here's the house rules," and that's what you've been playing.
Yeah,
it's like, so I've been playing a house rule this whole time, so I haven't been playing it properly.
Yeah, and then you get to about page 5 out of 1600, and you're like, do you know what? I can't be bothered to learn how to play the game. Let's just play it how we want to play it, eh?
We digress.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be on everyone's mind this Christmas. But so how friendships change as you get older. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. I think this topic is big because when you're kind of our age, you're kind of reevaluating your life, you're figuring out where you want to be, what you want to do, and you have to surround yourself with people who you gel with.
Yeah.
I think the main thing is that as you grow, other people will grow, but in different ways.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will grow apart because of that. And
I think it's important to remember, or maybe not remember, maybe not the right word, but I think it's important to always know that it's okay to grow out of people.
Yeah.
Or to outgrow people, I think is what I meant. It's okay to outgrow people. You're not going to be friends with everyone you were friends with in secondary school.
No, that's true.
It just doesn't happen. Like, don't get me wrong, you do keep friends. Like, I've got a lot of friends, like my main friendship group is friends from secondary school or people that I met in secondary school.
Yeah.
But like, that's whittled down from a much bigger group.
Yeah. The social circle shrinks quite a lot as you get older, I think. Yeah.
So yeah, like, friendships do change, and that's okay. I think it's just important as you grow older to realise who's really there for you and who's helping you grow. Because like there will be people that you'll meet that you will think they're the best people in the world, but they're not helping you grow. The people that stick around, they're the people that are helping you grow.
100%.
Yeah.
And also just supporting what you do.
Yeah.
And supporting your dreams and all that kind of thing. Like, I think, and we spoke about this at the very start of the podcast, like in episode 1, you said that like Tay and Kane have really supported your dream in doing this because you've seen them do something. And it's the same for me. Like, there's people around me that have always encouraged me to do what I want to do. And I think that is such an important thing to happen. Like, I'm very lucky, and like all my family and friends are like that. Like, even the wildest ideas, like during COVID when I started my clothing brand for men's mental health, my girlfriend was so supportive of that. She like completely supported everything that I did in that field and really celebrated it and hyped me up.
I bought a jumper.
Yeah, exactly. Like, a lot of people at work got stuff from me to support that. And likewise with this, we're in a position where we go in on a Tuesday and people are like, "Oh, I listened to the pod this morning, like, awesome work."
That when episode 2 came out, because episode 1 we promoted it a bit on like our personal Instagrams and the podcast Instagram.
Yeah.
But we're starting completely fresh, so we didn't really have much of a promotion to go to.
No.
And it was so surprising walking in when episode 2 come out, the amount of texts and like people that come up to us and went, "I was really looking forward to episode 2. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I was like, what?
Yeah. We're just two dudes.
We're just two dudes
sitting on the sofa,
sitting in a caravan.
Yeah, we would literally be having the same conversation if we were sitting at home on Discord.
Oh yeah, 100%. So. Yeah,
it's what it is. But yeah,
no, it's the way it goes.
Plugging away early. So yeah, friendships do change a lot, and I think that a big thing for me growing up has been, you watch people move away and start their own lives, right? Like, you know, even some of my closest friends now have moved away and got to a point where they have a family of their own, or they're married, or they've got their own place or whatever, and that does change the dynamic quite a lot, I think.
I've lost count of how many friends have done that now. I absolutely lost count. I mean,
we're just at that age, right?
We're just at that age where that's a thing for some people. I mean, some people, that's not the lifestyle that they want, and that's fine. But for a lot of, like, I feel like we grew up in an era that was just coming out of that settle down in your 20s.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of on that cusp of some of our friends were settling down in their 20s and some of our friends were just doing whatever they wanted.
Yeah, I think, like, you get to a point where you kind of start figuring out your own direction.
Yeah,
and like we said before, like sometimes things don't work out the way you thought they were going to work out, which is fair enough, but that means you're going to take a different trajectory to your friends. And the ones who are true friends are the ones who are going to still check in, and they're still going to understand your position is different to theirs.
Yeah.
Like Ryan is a great example of this, Mr. T we call him. Because he's got a family now, he's got a little girl, and he's got responsibilities, he's got a really good job, he's got his wife to look after and so on. Like, that's his focus, right?
Oh, yeah.
But he still makes time for us, and he still makes sure that he catches up with us. I still get a text from him every couple of days and say, how you doing, mate?
The odd meme comes through.
Yeah, exactly that. And obviously he understands that I'm in a position where I'm free as a bird and I don't have those responsibilities. And likewise, I'm understanding that he can't be pandering to our needs all the time.
Exactly. He can't just drop everything to come see us.
No,
and that's absolutely
which is fine. Yeah, because that's how it is, and you have to adapt to that. Because 10 years ago when we first were all hanging out, we would literally just drop everything at a hat and be like, let's go to this party.
Shout out to sitting in car parks in the car.
Yeah, exactly. Sitting in Morrison's or whatever, sitting in the car just chilling out.
Yeah.
Or going to a house party or going out drinking, and
God, I miss house parties.
Yeah, we did have some corking house parties, didn't we?
Yeah. But that's a story for another time.
That is a story for another time. Yeah, but that obviously really was a different era for our friendship group and things like that. Like, we all used to gather around mine, and Mum was kind enough to let us use it as like a base to hang out.
Was she?
Yeah, well, yeah. After I got caught having the first house party that she didn't approve, but we left the house in such a good condition, she was like, yeah, let's have another 10. So yeah, we'll go into that another time, but really appreciative of that, because it gave us time to hang out and live out those days without having to go out all the time.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
It saved us an absolute shed load of money.
Yeah, it saved us a shed load of money. It saved a lot of aggro getting cabs back and forth to places.
Yeah.
And it just gave us a place to hang out. Like, if people wanted to crash on the sofa or whatever, like, it was cool. Same around your place. Like, your mum and dad have always been cool with, like, people just crashing out there.
I still have a photo of, I think it was Kane, Mel, my mate Charlie, and Lolly, my old dog.
Yeah.
Literally all cuddled up next to each other on one double bed mattress that we took downstairs.
Yeah.
And look at I actually, funny you should say that. Funny I should say that. I was having a conversation with Shannon the other day, and she texted me and she was like, I just had this overwhelming urge to come back to your house after listening to the first 2 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
And she was just like, it's just made me really reminiscent of like old times.
Yeah, like nostalgia kicks in, yeah.
And it's funny that we're doing this episode today after I'd literally just had that conversation, because it got me just thinking about all the stuff that I used to do, like coming back from a house party, no one being able to get home, so everyone just crashing at my house.
Yeah.
I'll never forget falling asleep in my mum's my mum's like recliner chair.
Oh yeah.
So mum's obviously gone up to bed and dad's gone up to bed. I'm laying in the recliner chair, trying to sleep. Someone's on the sofa, another person's on the sofa. We got a mattress on the floor, and there's 2 people in the mattress.
Yeah.
And it's just such good memories.
It is, yeah. But things have moved on since then. Like, people have changed, and they've got family now. It's just one of those things. You have to adapt and learn who your true friends are, because there are people that we hung about with at that time that we don't really see or hear much from anymore, and we've drifted from them, and that's all right too. Like, that doesn't mean there's bad blood necessarily. It just means that you're in different stages of life, or you're just not hanging around with them in the same way, the same capacity that you used to.
It's kind of like we said in the first episode about low maintenance friends.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Like, that is, I think we've surrounded ourselves with friends that are low maintenance and are okay with not talking for several months, like, and that's so good for my brain, like that's so good for my mental health, because
100%,
trying to keep up with people is so stressful for me.
I can find that really hard at times as well.
I like it, even if I'm like texting 3 people on the same day, someone's getting forgotten.
Yeah.
One text thread is not getting replied to, and I'm sorry for whoever I do that to, but I just don't have the brain capacity.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I think that for me, it's like I am a very big communication person, as you know. Like, I'm really big on keeping in touch with people, if I'm like, you know, if I've got like a close friend or a relationship or whatever, I like to be in contact with them as much as possible. But you also have to be aware that everyone's living their own life, and like you say, for me, I'm quite low maintenance, and I can distance myself from people without it meaning anything. Like, I can just, like, you know, a couple of weeks time, I'll be in touch with them again and just say, oh, hey, how you doing? But it is a lot when you're doing life, and you've got, whether you've got responsibilities or not, if you've got a proper job and you're trying to work on yourself or whatever it might be, it is hard sometimes to constantly give other people attention.
And sometimes you got to kind of take that time for yourself. Yeah. You know, like, especially if you're having like a low period or stuff like that, those true friends around you will not judge you for taking the time for yourself, or taking that break to go, hey, look, I can't reply right now. I'm just not in the right headspace to do it. Yeah. Those real friends will go, cool, don't worry about it. Yeah. And that's not to say that real friends won't be a little bit like, some people just don't understand. It's fine. Yeah. It is what it is. But honest to God, true friends will look at you and go, that's okay. I'm here if you need me. Yeah. And that's it's so key for a long-lasting friendship. Yeah, I agree. So key. For me, at least. Yeah, no, I'm 100% the same. Yeah. Like, I feel like there are some people who will get snotty with you if you don't talk to them for a while and that kind of thing. And that could be really overwhelming, because if you're just living your life, you're doing your thing, sometimes it is draining to do that. And what you want to do is you want to give that person... Sorry, I've got to wipe my nose. Because for everyone listening, it's really cold in here. It is cold. So, yeah, sorry. It's baggy jumper season, though. It's baggy jumper season. I'm here for it. Yeah, 100%. Sorry, continue. No, it's cool. So, yeah, I think if you're not giving your best version of yourself to that person, that can be really frustrating for them as well. Like, you feel like you're not showing up for them. So realistically, it is good to take that time. And the thing is, like, when we were 17, 18 and we just wanted to party and go out and whatever, like, that's all you're thinking about. The social life is your main focus, and obviously you're starting to get into relationships and, you know, chat to girls or whatever. And so you're in that position where that's where your brain is at. Whereas now we're in a position where it's like, cool, future. Like, what about money? What about a house? What about work? What about, like, there's a lot more, you know, I want to get fitter. I want to improve my mental health, whatever it might be. That's a lot of time to squeeze in around socializing. Yeah. It's I think with the way the world is at the moment, it's more so like people are just trying to fund themselves, trying to think of ways to fund themselves. And like, you see so many like small businesses popping up these days, and like, good for them, because like, it's so hard to like put yourself out there. Much like this, it's like, after the first couple of the first episodes we recorded, when we put the first episodes out, I was sitting there like, what have I done? Not like in a bad way, but like, what have I done? Because I'm very much stepping out of my comfort zone. Putting yourself out. And like, but to put that back to what we're talking about, like, you, Kane, Taylor, you know, everyone that we've spoken to, I'm sorry if I missed anyone out, because I knew I was going to miss people out, but anyone that I've spoken to has been so supportive of like, and that ultimately just shows me the friend group that I've got now, the unit that I've got now. And I know it sounds really cheesy, but I call them my family. That is my family. Like, these people that I have curated around me are my brothers, my sisters. They mean the world to me. So, you know, watching them change and grow, for me, honestly, it chokes me up a little bit. Because I'm like, I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud of you for doing what you love and getting to the places that you dreamed of getting to. And like, yeah, just watching your YouTube channel grow, like watching Kane and Taylor do the film, watching people, you know, start going to the gym, for instance, just doing things that they wanted to do, but at the time couldn't.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Just honestly, like watching the growth from, like you say, going to house parties together, going to school together, to where they are now, homes, kids. I can't be more proud of the people that I've got in my life. I can't be, because I'm so happy for them.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like, and I think as you grow, you realise the people that you're proud of, and that the people that you're close to, and you realise the people that you're not necessarily not proud of, but you're indifferent, I think is the probably the right word to use.
Yeah, do you know what? Now that you've said that really resonates with me, actually.
Yeah.
That makes sense when you put it in those words.
Yeah, you're not unhappy for them.
Yeah, no.
But you're just indifferent of their situation.
Yeah, you think good for them, but it is what it is. Like, it doesn't affect you in any way. But if they're really your close friends or your family, you might look at that with such pride and think that you're really proud of where they've got to and seen that growth. And that, for me as well, I think, I agree, is what shows who your true friends are.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to put time into people who either drain you, drag you down, or are really selfish in what they need. You need friends that are going to hype you up. You need friends that you can also act the same with.
Gotcha.
And you need friends who, you know, if you're going to pick up the phone, they're going to be there for you no matter what their situation is. And you're not going to find that at 18.
No.
Like, you might start to be friends with those people at 18, but you don't know which ones are going to still be here at 28. And
absolutely,
that's fine, because people are there for different stages of your life. And just because you lose touch with someone or you fall out with someone doesn't mean that they've not had a place in your life and they weren't of value to you. I think the fact that they've gone just means that you're moving in different directions.
Exactly.
And that's cool.
That's your character development.
Exactly.
That's your character development. And I know there's like a ton of memes about it, like, oh, this person was my character development and stuff like that.
Or my villain arc.
Yeah, your villain arc. It's so true though.
Yeah,
like, some people come into your life and you're just like, oh, you're the best person in the world. And then they come out of your life and then you're like, oh my God, what did I do while I was friends with them?
Yeah.
Like I've had some times where I've known some people and, like, to be completely honest, probably not been the best person in the world. Mm-hmm. And when you walk away from that person, you look back at what you've done and you kind of go like, geez, what, like, nothing serious to add, but like, you kind of look back and you think that, like, I didn't like the person that I was then.
Yeah. That's part of your growth as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, everyone you meet, whether it be a passing face in the street or a person that you've known for years, everyone will have an impact on you, depending in some way. You know, you, like, I've seen it several times when I'm out and about and I'm walking down the street and I'll see, like, I think I saw it the other day on the tube. There was a mum come on the pram with her little baby, and she sat down and she's looking at me and she's playing with the little baby. And honestly, I will openly admit, I'm not a fan of kids.
No, you've always said you don't really want kids.
Yeah, because I'm like, just I don't think I would be a good parent, and that's a topic for another time. But when she sat down with her baby and she was like just playing with him, having a little laugh, having a little chat with him, honestly, it warmed my heart.
Yeah.
I don't know them. Yeah. I don't know them at all, but that small little thing impacted my mood for the morning. Yeah. Because I was sat there and I was like, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's
lovely.
Yeah. That's life.
Yeah.
And I was having a bit of a bad morning on the way to work. It was on the way to work. Yeah. A bit of bad morning on the way to work, and I look down and I see this young lady with a son or daughter, and I'm like, that's cute. Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. Mood changed.
Yeah. And people have that impact on you don't even know it. But I think that in terms of, like, sort of, as you say, character development and sort of people's place in your life changing, I think for a lot of people, and in fact a whole generation, that has been really massively impacted by COVID. And in terms
What
of
a segue.
I know.
Oh,
I'm good at this, aren't I?
It's almost like we've been doing this for years. We haven't.
We haven't. We've been doing it
Two
for about
episodes.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah. Professional idiots.
That's so true.
Yeah. Do as we say, not as we do.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, I think for a whole generation that is a bit younger than us, I think that, I mean, there is even studies that show it really has stinted development of social aspects and the way people communicate with each other. And I think probably it would be interesting to hear some perspectives of people who maybe teach in schools or are sort of in that education segment, because I think probably for that sort of 3-year period, let's say 2 to 3 year period, there's so many kids and young adults that were stuck indoors for such a long period of time that they didn't have a chance to have that experience that we did growing up and go to lots of parties when they turned 18 or
I feel so sorry for anyone that turned 18 during COVID, because that must have been horrible. I know for some people that they had like parties over Zoom and stuff like that, but like that must have been.
It's not the same.
It's not.
It's not the same experience. No, it's not.
It's not the same. Like, I remember your 18th.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Great time, but like, imagine that behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Over Zoom.
Yeah, it's not the same experience.
No.
And you're not learning to communicate with people face to face.
No.
You're not learning, if it's like in terms of relationships, your first relationships when you're kind of in your late teens and 18, 19, whatever, and you're first learning about the kind of the physical aspect of it and physical touch and whatever, that's something that you'd be really nervous with if you've been trapped at home for that period of time and your only form of communication with people is over text message or social media. And obviously social media had a massive boom because of that, and it has impacted people positively. We've now got people who are doing hybrid work from home roles a lot more often. Companies understand that people don't want a 9 to 5 anymore. They want to be able to have a more flexible work-home balance. And you've also got people who now are able to commute less and save money. And you've got people who have opened up new businesses because they had those ideas during lockdown, a bit like I did when I started doing the clothing brand.
Yeah.
Like, that's what sustained them and kept them going during those times with that cabin fever.
Yeah.
And that's great. So there are positives. There's always positives to any situation. There's always silver linings. But there is definitely a whole group of people who didn't have 3 years of character development growing up.
I think what's really interesting is the fact that they've studied it.
Yeah.
I mean, forgive me because I don't know any of the stats, but when you look at you can tell a child that grew up at school during COVID between a child that didn't. Like, so that older generation where they were just coming out of like secondary school going into college, you can tell the difference in terms of confidence levels and how they talk to people. And I think one of the biggest things is that for a lot of kids that were growing up in sort of that in between, like coming out of primary school into secondary school, a lot of because I know a couple of teachers, a lot of them were saying like the aggression levels are higher, and not because the child is aggressive, but because they just don't know how to communicate themselves. And like, I can't imagine how hard it is for them to A, from a teacher's perspective, teach that child, and B, from the child's perspective, to try and figure out a way without frustrating themselves how to communicate. Now, by no means am I an expert, so, take what I say with a pinch of salt, but I feel so sorry for those who are trying to help these children, but because we don't know enough about the social impact, just don't know how.
Yeah, and not only that as well, I think it was probably very frustrating for a lot of people who are kind of towards the end of their education during COVID, where they basically just said, look, we can't bring you in and we can only teach you so much over Zoom classes or whatever it might be. of course, a lot of people kind of cheated their way through that a little bit and didn't really go to the classes, or they wouldn't put their cameras on, whatever it might be. So there was only so much they could do in that situation. And for those people who have spent a few years studying for GCSEs, A-levels, or a degree, whatever it might be, to then basically just be given a predicted grade, that must be so frustrating, because they could have potentially exceeded that grade.
Yeah.
Or they could have not deserved that grade.
Yeah.
And so you've now got a load of people who are going into university who have just been given a grade based vaguely around how they were performing during their academic year, which, is probably the most practical way they could have done it. And I can't think off the top of my head of any way that would have been better.
Way they could have done it.
Yeah, it probably is. But, I've had conversations with people who have been through that and have just found it so incredibly frustrating that's the outcome, because they feel like it was wasted time, or they feel like they didn't reach their full potential. And we're lucky enough that we didn't go through that, because we were well out of school and well into our jobs by then.
I failed everything.
And I was very lucky, because I was working where I am now, and we worked from home for a long period of time, and we weren't sort of classified as kind of key workers that had to be physically at a location. So it was kind of it was quite an easy ride working from home.
I had to be online. That was about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we kind of had it easy, but there were a lot of people who were out there, on the front line, whether it be nurses, doctors, whether it be...
God bless those people.
Yeah, like incredible work.
Without them, this country wouldn't be turning.
No.
Without those people throughout the entire world, this world wouldn't be spinning.
No.
Like, for anyone that works in the NHS, like, I have the utmost respect. I've got some friends that work in the NHS as well.
Me too.
And, like, I have the utmost respect for them to be on the front line. Incredible bravery.
Yeah, even now, let alone during COVID.
Yeah.
When we was in the early stages of COVID and nobody really knew the impacts of it, like, there was a stage where I think probably a lot of people thought that the death rate would be much higher than it ended up being.
Yeah.
And it was going to be like a really, not that it wasn't serious at all, but, the impact in terms of health was going to be a lot higher than it turned out to be.
Yeah.
And at that time, for those people to be risking their lives and going into work for, let's be honest, not enough pay, is incredible. But what you've got to think about is how has that impacted their mental health over that period of time? Not only like their normal difficult working hours, but even people who had to work in retail or in those other key worker areas in supermarkets and things like that, where people were selfishly rushing in to accumulate as many toilet rolls as they could, all sorts of different things.
Toilet gate.
Yeah,
toilet roll gate.
Yeah, I actually segue, but I actually got. I think it was my ex's mum that gave it to me for Christmas or something, and I've still got it at home. It's really funny. It was like a one of these sort of joke presents that you can buy, and it's a loo roll, and it's wrapped in like a fancy package, and it's got like. Something about COVID's written on it. It's like, something about how much it's worth or something. Because it's great. I'm going to keep that forever. Just as
break in case of emergency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, and I'm going to keep it forever, just as a kind of a bittersweet reminder of that time that we had during COVID. Because it was so weird for everyone.
Oh God, yeah.
But yeah, like even the impact for those people who were working frontline jobs, even like supermarkets, for example. There's such a big impact, because I think as well it kind of there were some people that were in that situation and it became their norm and their day to day, mask on, social distancing, all that kind of stuff. And then there's other people who hadn't been out for a year and they were stuck indoors with cabin fever, and they both had different fear levels as well of this disease and what it was going to do to impact them. So there's also that kind of conflict of interest between that person who's on the front line and saying, do you know what, it's okay, like we're surviving it, and that person who's at home like, no, I'm too scared.
I mean, I was terrified.
Yeah.
More so because of my mum. Like, we're both immunocompromised.
Yeah.
At the time, obviously, I didn't know that. But for my mum, I think when I stopped going to the office, I sent an email to my boss and was like, hey, my mum's high risk. And I stopped going to the office in March. like months before the lockdown, and I was at home that whole time because I was like, I can't risk coming in.
Yeah.
There's no way I can risk coming in and giving something to my mum, and obviously later finding out that I would have to be immunocompromised as well.
Exactly that, yeah.
Like, for those who obviously had to stay away from their families, from people that were immunocompromised because they were on the front line, God, I can't imagine how hard that was. Like, and another thing I just wanted to add on your with the shop workers, personally, don't think they have enough credit.
No, I agree.
I don't think they get enough credit.
Because they got a lot of abuse as well from people who were like non-believers of COVID or refused to wear masks when it was, you know, a law, or not a law, but, you know, it was a requirement. So, so yeah, there definitely is that as well. I think another thing is, in terms of people who had to isolate and be by themselves for really extended periods of time, that must, like, I feel probably the most sorry for people, and in terms of social impact as well, the people who had to be on their own at home. If they live alone, I was super lucky because I had kind of my bubble with my girlfriend, and you know, I've got Nan at home, and you're still at home with family as well, so we had people to talk to all the time.
I didn't go absolutely stir crazy.
Exactly, but for people who are like on their own, I know there was a law where you could, at some point, you could create a bubble with another household if you were living alone.
Honestly,
and that kind of thing.
It's probably best not to bother with them laws, because
let's not get bogged down.
Let's not get bogged down, because half of that was so confusing.
And obviously it then came out later on that people didn't follow them and whatever else it might be. But you know, all that aside, the people who did spend the majority of their time alone, especially if they had a job where they were very social and stuff like that, that must have been incredibly hard. Like, even for people like us who are relatively independent and we can deal with time alone.
Not even that, like families that had to look at family members through windows.
Oh yeah,
because like the other person lived alone and they couldn't come into the house, like that. I can't, for anyone that had to live through that, in terms of like being alone and having to see family just through their windows, not being able to hug them or hold them or anything. You've got to think, like, when that family member goes away, you're then sat there, you're like, right, I'm alone again.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how hard that must have been.
And not only that, but like for people who are visiting relatives that were passing away, or they were like in care homes, for example, that
every time I think about that, it kills me.
It's lost time. You know, it's so sad. And we could go on forever about what we believe should and shouldn't have happened. But I think the overall thing is that it was such a long period of time, and I think so many people forgot how to communicate face to face and what that looks like, and adjusting to life after that again, for a lot of people, I think has actually had a really significant mental health impact that they haven't maybe not even realised yet. Maybe some people listening to us talking about this right now will be thinking, do you know what, actually that's probably affected me a lot more than I thought it did.
I remember the first time I got a hug from someone outside of my house, and it's the weirdest feeling because I'm used to like, of course I'll give my mum a hug.
Yeah.
But it's the weirdest feeling when it's someone else that you're close to, and you give them a hug and you're like, this feels different. This feels weird. Like in a good way, but like this feels like you'd like the only way I can describe it is like your heart fills up.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, oh, I feel nice. This is nice. Like, I like social interaction. And like for those people who, when they came out of their isolation or when lockdown ended, for those people who then was able to meet up with friends and family again, like the positive like switch that there must have been. I know for me, especially when I got out of the house the first time, and was able to either like go down the pub like with you, or see people in the office again, I was just like, oh, real people.
Yeah.
Like, completely off topic. Well, it's kind of on topic, but before we had lockdown, when I worked in the office, I borrowed a comic book from someone that worked there. Now, I was intending on giving the comic back, and I did, for clarification, I didn't steal this comic book. But it just worked out that I ended up keeping it through the whole of lockdown.
Yeah.
I was just like, as soon as I got back to the office, I brought it straight in and I was like, right, that's yours. Take it away from me. I don't want to steal your comic.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you look back on it, it feels so surreal. It was such a different time. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is just because I genuinely believe that it has really heightened people's emotions, either for better or for worse. I'd like to think that realistically, when people look at it and they want to take something away from it, that it's helped them become more emotional and more in touch with their emotions in a positive way, in a way that they can understand their own feelings a little bit better, because they've A, had more time to process it, and B, also now appreciate things a little bit more for that experience.
You saying that really resonates. Because I literally, as soon as you said it, I just thought, do you know what? Actually, yeah, I feel like I've become I'm an emotional person. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I feel like I'm much more in touch with my emotions now than I ever did before. Like, I feel like I can really sense when I'm not right, when I'm feeling great, when, I need to do something with my life, like go out and just walk outside or whatever. Like, I feel like this is coming out of COVID. It's just like a switch in my head. Like, you can process emotions now.
yeah. And that's probably hard for a lot of people. But do you know what? I think if there's one takeaway from it, it's that yes, it was a really tough few years, and there's probably a lot of people out there who have been impacted in a negative way in terms of their social interactions and how they cope with people and all that kind of stuff. But I think if you've learned something about yourself in that process and how you, or what you need as a person, or where you want to be as a person, I think that's a good enough silver lining.
Also, for those who struggled through and made it out, be proud of yourself.
100%.
Be so proud of yourself, because you were not alone. You were never alone in feeling down or struggling. But if you made it and battled your demons and made it through, be so proud of yourself. You should be so proud of yourself. Like, you absolutely smashed it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that kind of wraps it up. I think that's a good place to end. It was a tough time. I don't want to kind of make this a bit of a down topic, because there's such a lot of negative in there. But I think that the key for us talking about it today is that, like, you have to be aware that that period of everyone's life changed them in some way, and whether you grew from that or whether you feel like you suffer from that, the key takeaway is everyone learned a little bit about themselves
100%
during the lockdown period, and that's the thing to reflect on, I think.
100%, yeah, definitely. You've learned things about yourself and you've grown because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost 3 years.
Yeah.
I forgot about those 3 years.
Yeah, now it's
you
like, don't think about it now. Yeah, you don't think about it now, and that's kind of where we want to be, I suppose.
I'm not 28.
So let's move on to something a little bit more lighthearted and round off the episode with a bit of fun. So this week, instead of doing a dilemma, we're going to do Would You Rather.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's always
I want to say I worked hard. Google worked hard for me.
Yeah, Reddit worked hard for you. Yeah, I'd also just as a side note, I would like you guys, if you're listening, to give us some comments, give us some DMs of would you rather questions for us. It would be really interesting to hear some kind of obscure ones. We was having a chat about it at work the other day, and some of the ones that were flying out were hilarious. So yeah, please get in touch with your would you rathers, and we'll be sure to include some of those in the future. I'm going to open with one that is probably going to be quite an interesting debate. So would you rather see 10 hours into the future or 10 years into the future?
Now, I hate to be a little bit of a party pooper, but I'm the kind of guy that sits there and tries to justify these. Now, when we're talking 10 years, are we talking I get to see everything that happens within those 10 years, or boom, 10 years?
No, you are just 10 years.
Boom,
Click,
10 years.
boom,
Okay.
10 years into the future.
That's a difficult one.
That is a really difficult
That's
one.
a really tough one to like.
And bear in mind, you're not teleporting 10 years into the future. You're not time warping. You're just seeing it. You're just visioning what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I always say, when people say, oh, you could go X amount of years into the future. But what about if you, A, don't like what you see, or B, then constantly have it in your mind for the next 10 years, that's the outcome regardless of what you do. Like, that's going to probably change.
Bro, you're just projecting because you don't like planning that far ahead.
No, that's so true.
Bro, you're just projecting.
That's so true. That's so true. Anyone who knows me knows that I don't like planning a week ahead, let alone a year. No, it's not that.
I'd say 10 hours.
The funny thing is, I'm not even that spontaneous. I can be.
I'm legit trying to think of like a time, but
I can be, but like, I'm not the sort of person who's like, I wouldn't like finish this recording and be like, right, let's book a trip to Paris. Like, no, like, I need to plan
I
that.
can barely book a holiday with you. So
Yeah, like those sort of things we need to plan. But I am spontaneous in like, right, let's go for dinner somewhere. Or something like that. I'm spontaneous in that aspect. But yeah, just planning too far ahead stresses me out because I'm constantly worrying about it in the back of my head.
yeah, that's understandable.
But yeah, in terms of like 10 years into the future, what I would be afraid of happening is I leap 10 years into the future and I see like, you know, where I am, who I'm with, what I'm doing, and then you teleport back to now and you're like, right, cool. So I know that that's what it's going to turn out like. You can't change that because you've already seen the future.
It's like that. Would you like to know how you die situation?
Yeah.
God no, because then I'd be avoiding whatever it is that killed me forever, and then it would just happen.
Anyway.
Exactly. It would just happen.
Yeah, like you're constantly scared about something, but you know that that's the outcome, so you can't change it.
10 hours.
10 hours for
10
me
hours
as well.
100%.
10 hours from me, because you could at least, like, I don't know, predict lottery results or like...
I mean, what's the time now? It's like 1:30.
Yeah, so what
10 hours time sleep.
Yeah, but I mean, if we was to skip 10 hours into the future right now, I would at least be able to tell what we're going to order from Papa John's later.
That's true. Oh, you've just reminded me we're having Papa John's tonight.
Yeah. And now we're happy boys once again. 10 hours. Okay, cool. Do you want to pick?
Let's go for... I was trying to load it on my phone, but it's not loading. Huh? What? What did I do?
No, nothing. You're just leaning, so they won't be able to hear.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Let's go for... Oh, I saw this one and it kind of made me think of my mum. Would you rather lose your sight or your memories?
Would you rather lose your sight or your memories? Ooh.
Because I know from my mum's perspective... Obviously, she's partially sighted, so she can see.
Yeah.
But sight pretty much gone.
Yeah.
And when it happened, it made me think about it a lot, whether I could lose my sight and still be...
Do you mind if I just interject with, I think that if you asked your mum this question, I think she would stay as she is and keep her memories.
Oh, God, yeah. I would pick sight.
Yeah.
Because, I'm a big storyteller.
Yeah.
Like, I to my detriment, will tell the same story like 5 times to people who've already listened to it. And but they'll always humour me and they'll always be like, oh, yeah. And I'm just like, stop. Tell me I've told you this story before so I can go home and cry about it. No, I sight, because, like, memories for me are huge. I love being able to reminisce. Like, we sit there and we do it all the time.
We talk about stuff all the time. We're so nostalgic sometimes, yeah.
Like, which is something will pop into our heads. Like, oh, remember that? That was really funny.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, we have hilarious times.
Yeah, most of the time. Sometimes they're treacherous times.
Sometimes maybe good.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But, you know, I kind of agree. I think that, I mean... I think it would be really difficult to lose your sight. Definitely. I think that would be a massive adjustment, and I can only imagine what that's like. but at the same time, like, your memories are core to who you are as a person, and the relationships that you forged. And I think personally that would be more important than losing all your memories. And yeah, you can see everything, but you know, let's say that this happened right now, and I've got no idea who you are. Like, we've got like 25 plus years of friendship that we've forged, and if I was to just forget that, like, in a click, I can still see you, but you don't mean anything to me. And that must be horrendous.
Like if it was hearing, that would be more difficult for me.
I don't know.
I'm a big music guy.
Yeah, me too. But
I'm a big music guy.
Yeah, me too. But again, like, if you can feel the beat, like they say that people who are hard of hearing can really feel like the bass and stuff. And that kind of thing. And if you can adapt to that, I know it's not the same. I know it's not the same, but like, still, your memories are so important.
Memories are cool.
Yeah. So okay, let's have another one then. This one, I already know my answer to this, but I'm going to ask you: would you rather find true love today, or win the lottery next year?
Oh,
let's say this is a big win as well, millions, enough to set you up.
That's so tough. Because, like, with the money, I'm thinking, like, I could pay people's mortgages off.
Yeah.
And genuinely, like, I'm not saying that as a like thing.
No,
like,
I know you well enough to know.
I've always said that if I win the lottery, people's mortgages are getting paid. Always said that.
Yeah, if I won millions, I'd really want to. I've always said. I was having this conversation with someone at work when I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I said, if I won the lottery, genuinely, like, millions, I would come in and I would give. I mean, we've got like over 100 people at work, but I would quite happily give everyone a couple of grand just to go, here you go on holiday, or something like that. And the other person who I was talking to about it was like, no, why would you do that? Like, it's a waste of money. And I was like, yeah, but like, the majority of people at work I really get along with, and I want to see thrive. So it's like, you know, and I would get satisfaction. It's not about ego and saying, look at me showing off I've got money. It's just about making people happy and helping people who are struggling or who just need a treat for themselves or whatever. And I get,
like, for some people, like, I know some people that are how do I put this politely, proud.
Yeah, a bit touchy. They treat it as charity, maybe.
Yeah, and wouldn't want to take would get offended by the money, which is fair if that's you. But like, I'm not doing this to make you think better of me. I'm doing this because I want you to thrive.
Yeah,
like exactly, you said, I want you.
Same
to
with
thrive.
paying off people's mortgages. It's like, I want you to be happy and to not stress.
Yeah.
But going back to the question, for me, this is quite a tough one. And I say I know my answer, and I'm going to explain it a little bit. So, for me, I think I would pick true love today. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I love love. You know me. Like, I'm a big.
You're a lover, not a fighter.
100%. I'm a really affectionate person. I really like bonding with people. Is my, like, that nourishes my soul. That's what I love. And obviously, having been on my own for a while as well, that's been a big adaptation in my life. Like, actually, kind of learning how to do that and to not have that person. I've found that probably, honestly, one of the most challenging things I've ever been through.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds ridiculous because I've had, like, obviously everyone goes through difficult stuff in life. They lose people and so on and so forth. But in terms of my mental health and my life, I think that has been the thing that has shaped me the most into who I am today. And that's been the biggest impact for me. And for me, yes, there is the aspect of, you could win the lottery next year, and by that point, you could have found someone. You could have settled and found true love within that year anyway. But there's always the risk that you win the lottery before that happens, and then you're a millionaire, and then the person that you meet, are they a gold digger? Are they with you for your money? Are they?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's always a risk, and fair enough, that might not be the case. Like, there might be people, you might not tell that person how much money you've got, but it might show through your property or your car or whatever. I think
for me, I'd have to pick the money, just because it sounds. I don't know. It sounds kind of sad, but I'm okay being alone.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
I'm okay being alone, and I would rather see all of my friends do well for themselves with whatever I can help them with.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I'd love that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
But like for me, I think I'm one of these people that if it's meant to happen, it will happen.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree.
And if I can do right by my friends for how well they've treated me and how well they've looked after me, then that's all I want.
Yeah, I think that's something that for me, especially in the last year or so, I value my friends now more than I ever have for a multitude of reasons. You know, the people that have got me through. And
that one time I cooked you a really good steak.
You did cook me a very good steak, yeah. You did cook me a very good steak in my hour of need. Yeah, so I would want to do right by them regardless of my relationship status. You know, like I value those friendships massively. The other thing I'd like to sort of put in there, I think if you really find true love, then I think that person will be accommodating of your dreams, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So in theory, working together, you could build that wealth anyway. You know, if you both put your heads together and you're so invested in your relationship and your future, and you can see where your trajectory is with that person, you could potentially build a massive wealth just by having that really tight-knit unit and supporting each other in what your ventures are. And obviously, I think, I don't know about you, but for me, I would get more satisfaction. As much as I'd love to run into millions of pounds tomorrow, I would get more satisfaction knowing that I've worked really hard for it.
That's fair. Yeah. I think for me, it's just, I like you said, I just want to see people thrive.
Yeah.
And if I can...
That's fair enough.
Do that little Salt Bay sprinkling on it. Yeah. Cool.
It's a little sprinkle of joy in the form of £50 notes.
Just...
Yeah. But also, like, you have to be careful with that, because then... I think for us, we're in a position now where we know who our true friends are.
God, yeah.
I think that's something that we've really learned over the last maybe, 2-3 years. So I think we'd be quite lucky in terms of, like, if we won loads of money and we started, chucking loads of money at our friends, we know that that's cool. But there are people in a situation where their friendship might be on shaky ground. They run into lots of money and they start treating their friends, and then that person is then only sticking around because that person's funding them.
I think for me, I'm very much I'm quite brutal when it comes to stuff like that. Like if I spot it, cut out, done.
Fair, yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Like that I don't stand for it, just purely because I saw, like, I keep bringing it back, but I mean, it's the main example that I can think of when my mum got ill. How many people just disappeared?
Yeah. Because they weren't able to fit in with that anymore.
Exactly that. So for me, I spot it from a mile away and I'm just like, cool.
Yeah. I like to think that, I definitely think you're a good judge of character. I like to think that I am as well. But yeah, there are probably some people out there who would be frivolous with that money and not put it in the right place, if that makes sense.
And for that reason, I'm out.
So that's Would You Rather. We would definitely like your submissions, just to get some juicier examples like these ones. I picked these ones today because I think they were quite good debates. We'd love some really hilarious ones as well. That would be awesome. And I know this has been quite a serious episode today, guys, but we really wanted to touch on these topics because I think they're things that people just don't have the guts to talk about anymore, in some respects. And
I think when we spoke about talking about it, I wanted to talk about it in terms of, I wanted to talk about how we coped.
Yeah.
In a way, I know we only touched on it kind of briefly, but like I said, no one was alone in that situation. We're all in it together. And in a way, we still are from the aftermath.
Yep.
We're still in it together. You're not alone out there. That there's people like us that have the same thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
On how everything is.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it. That's a good time to close out on a quote. So
what have we got today, Dan?
What have we got today? This I found last night and I instantly gelled with it. Most of your stress comes from the way that you respond, not the way life is. Thoughts?
that's kind of left me a little bit speechless. I can't lie. Like,
at the end of the day, I suppose what it's saying is that yes, things can be tough in life, and there's a lot of stuff that people go through that might really stress you out, but how you respond to it is how you're going to feel about it. Like, if you're stressed about something, you're stressed about it because of your instant reaction to it. But is that something potentially you could look at changing, or is there something in terms of your circumstances you could look at changing so that you're not fazed by that as much?
I mean, the existential dread is a way of life.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is. Yeah. But I think I guess for me, I feel a lot less stressed about things now than I maybe would have done 5-10 years ago.
Oh, same.
On the basis that I know that sometimes it's just the way it goes.
Oh, I saw it in his eye. I knew it.
I mean, that would be a great way to end. But any other thoughts on that one?
No, I think, you know, I'm just looking at it again. Like, I think for me, I'm a tiny bit of a stress head. So, like, if there's anything that really stresses me out, like, you've seen me go absolutely off because I'm just stressed out and I just need to rant and
you know, also as well, there's some people that's their way of thinking, and it can be frustrating for them if you go, oh, don't worry, don't stress, don't worry about it, because that's invalidating how they feel. And it's quite difficult sometimes to not do that, because you just want to comfort someone and make them feel better, but you've got to be willing to understand their perspective on it. But if I was to give anyone a bit of advice, it's that in terms of that quote, the way you respond to things is going to impact how you feel a lot of the time. And maybe think about stepping back, reassessing the situation, and just thinking, what can I change? What can I impact to make myself feel better about this situation?
Sit down, have a cup of tea or coffee, whatever you drink, and just think. For a couple of seconds.
Don't charge in. Just stop.
Think on what you want to do, what you want to say. Boom.
Job done.
It's gold.
That's it. That's episode 3. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, realise this has been quite a serious one today, but just something we were passionate about discussing. So thank you so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate all the comments, all the feedback, all the views on, you know, YouTube, TikTok, and all the listens on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. Please like, comment, subscribe. Please give us your suggestions for dilemmas, for would you rathers, and for topics that you want us to discuss as well. We're quite open to kind of discussing all sorts of different stuff on here, so please reach out to us. We're always happy to get the messages. And thank you guys so much for listening. We will join you next Monday at 5 a.m. for another dose of The Way It Goes. Thanks guys, see you next time.
Toodaloo.